Hi, I'm Raj Kumar, President and Editor-in-Chief of DevX here at the Convergences Conference in Paris, and joined by Benoît Miribel, who is, well, you wear a couple of hats. You're here as a board member of Action Against Hunger, which is a well-known global NGO in food security.
President.
And you're also president of the board, and you're also the Director General, really the operational head of a French family foundation in Lyon.
Yes, Merieux Foundation.
That works in infectious diseases.
Yes, that's right.
All over the world.
Yes.
So you, food security, infectious disease, you kind of have the health and nutrition fields covered. I know you're here today speaking in particular about some issues and trends in food security. Talk to us a little bit about what's happening in that space.
I think that we need now to define an international framework for the food security because there is no general agreement between all the countries. You remember probably that after the 2008 famine, the G8 in Aquila decided to start a real program against for food security, with an investment of $22 billion. But it was, announcement.
That was
now,
the amount,
what are the results?
Right, sure.
So, what we know is that according to the fact that we will be more and more in the world, 9 billion in 2050,
right.
And with the challenge on resources and environment, there will be more tension on the resource, both for water, for the land, for crops and everything. So we need to organize, because if not, it will be what will be the rules. The strongest will take the food, will take the as we see in Africa, the lamb grabbing happen in Africa, and of course we could understand that when a country has no possibility to manage an agriculture, it is the case, for example, of South Korea, they belong to the international community. So how do we organize it? It's a real question now.
And there is no global framework right now.
No, there is no global framework. There is regional agreements. You have the Europe politique about agriculture. You have different kind of initiatives, but not globally. Not from the local to the regional and the international. And it's a real issue and a big challenge, because so far we were unable to feed everybody. That the data, it's more than 800 million persons suffering from hunger, and it's about a few millions dying from hunger still now. So we know that we have the food capacity, and it's a question of access to vulnerables and somehow sharing it.
And the right,
so this is the case now.
Yeah.
So could you imagine what will be in 30 years, in 2000, when will be more, and having not succeeded when we had enough food, with the challenge on the resources, environment, evolution and so on. So we really need to organize it. And it belongs to the states, but it will move only if all the citizens request for that, because it will not come like this, because it's very difficult to manage in a region everything. Let's take the example of Sahel. You have, even if the Sahelian countries, they have agreements of solidarity in case of necessity. You have, sometimes it works, sometimes not, because when it's very difficult, they have the right to protect themselves.
Sure. So if there's a
there's
drought
a limit,
across the Sahel,
of course I can help you, but when I'm in danger, no, it's not possible. So. And then if you look to the private markets, so you have many investment in food and speculation about food. So if an NGO like ACF say 6 months before, because we know what will be the forecast on agriculture, we know that now thanks to international satellite and so on. If we announce that, well, it will be very difficult in 6 months, in order to better prepare the population, it has an impact on the speculators. They say, okay, now it's time to buy it.
Sure.
Just an example to explain how it's difficult to manage everything. And nobody is able to manage everything alone. It's only if we are together, governments, the region also of the countries, the companies, business on food and agriculture, and NGO working with population, civil society together, that we have to define it. Of course, it's an ideological point of view,
sure, yeah.
but I don't know, if you go to in a school and let's talk with some children, 15 years old, 14 years old, and they will say, oh, you the adults of the world, manager of the world, you didn't prepare anything for that? So we have now in the space, far away, many things, we are able to do that, but what about the food? And it's the first need.
Basic and elemental to human life.
And we know the challenge for the future. So this is why we advocate that it's a real need to do that.
And there's another message that you came here today with, which is about today's need, and that is around the right kind of nutrition. I know you've talked about, this is obviously a global agreement you just described, but within individual countries, getting the agriculture ministries and the health ministries better linked up. Tell us about that. What's the point there?
Yes, it's necessary to break sometimes the walls that we may have between ministries, and especially between agriculture and health, because you may have food in a country, but who will benefit of that food? And also there is a question about the quality of the food, and we know that we need the diversity. We see more and more obesity, especially in developing countries. 2/3 of obesity in the world are in developing countries, by the way. So because they have more and more calories, and some of them, when the population was living in a rural zone before, moving to a city, they drink soda, and the body, biologically speaking, was not adapted to that. Somehow suddenly eruption of many calories. So it brings obesity. So what we request is to have a link between the nutrition, health nutrition, and agriculture in a country, and it has to be also to be managed by a local authority with the regional, also in the region. So easy to say again, huh? What I am talking easy to say, but
Any receptivity to
it
that
is our
message?
role
Yeah.
as NGO also,
Right.
according to what we see in 46 countries, because ACF is involved in 46 countries, to say, well, we need to define, we need to organize, to better organize it. We need to support what we call the small farmers also, because it's a key point for food security, the small farmer. I mean, because we need to rely on small farmers instead of having big international groups. We need also international groups, I'm not against it,
sure.
but we need to support a local production with respect to agroecologic, because it's necessary for better organization of the food market.
Well, this is a topic that's of real interest to DevEx members. Food security has become a much higher priority issue, as you know. Even the word food security, I think, has helped to do that. It's helped to reframe the debate and discussion. And we will continue following...
Food security goes also with the road, the stock, because the warehouse, because right. The quality also of the food. So there is many challenges around food security, and it's yes, it goes with the economy for security. Right. This is why we talk about nutrition security. Mm-hmm. It has more to do. It's more related to health, your personal health, nutrition. For example, in Sahel, we do a lot of training in the health center in order to have the nurses able to detect and treat the undernutrition. You know that we talk about undernutrition because we have obesity, and it's right. Under the same chapter of
instead
malnutrition.
Of malnutrition, right?
Yeah, malnutrition.
Yeah, well, I think these are also terms like food security that get political leaders' attention to realize if you have spikes in commodity prices, if food is not available, it can disrupt entire countries and lead to revolution and turmoil. So the world is paying more and more attention to this issue. Yeah. I think for both humanitarian reasons and for security reasons, and that's a good thing.
It has to be organized. So it requires specific mechanism. For example, in some countries, you have food, but some people are not able to buy it because they are really poor. So in that case, it requires some kind of specific grants for the poor, targeted the poor, not to bring also the market. Because if you give too much food, they can sell it back in the market.
Sure.
So you have many mechanisms. So it has to be according to the lesson learned. We need to work all together. It's a big challenge, but I think that without a global framework on the nutrition and food security, we will have a real problem to face.
Well, it's a big issue, and it's one that I'm glad you've come here to talk about. Thank you for spending some time with us.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.